most people in Austin, my name is Christy Esmahan, most people in Austin know me for my fourth novel, which has done really, really well. Sold over 8,000 copies, and I was approached by a producer from LA who wants to option the film rights for it. So it's the one that is my calling card, basically. So I'm not going to talk about that novel today, but instead I'm going to talk about my series, which were the first books that I published. There's really one story, but it takes place over 3 years, so I have it as a trilogy. The names are all in Spanish, but the book is in English. The books are in English, but they have Spanish titles because they are set in Spain. And the one I'm going to focus on today is the middle book, Cinco. They can each be read as standalone books as well, but you really get to know the characters, and so the people that have read the whole ones, they tell me afterwards that they feel like they want me to write a fourth book because they're members of the family and they've got to know them really well and want to continue with them. Cinco, as you'll notice, is not spelled the way Cinco is spelled in Spanish, and that is for a reason. I'm going to explain that in the chapter that I read. But this novel is a finalist for the International Latino Book Award this year. So I wanted to read from that and let you know. The first novel, Bueno, it was a semi-finalist for the Elixir Press Fiction Award. So I am getting awards for the first novels too. I don't talk about them as much, and so therefore I think that's part of the reason they don't get as much attention. Now, before I continue, have any of you ever worked with somebody who's difficult? Maybe somebody who makes your life miserable, a colleague, a boss, somebody who will sabotage you or spread rumors. Okay, so we're going to keep that idea. Have any of you ever wished that you could go and live in another country for a year or two, kind of really sink into the culture, get to know it, and then come back to the United States afterwards? So those are the two main ideas that I started with for this series. In this series, Harvey Jones, the main character, is a Texan, and his brother has gone to live in northern Spain, not the Madrid or Barcelona that everybody knows, but up in the northern part, close to France. And he loves it. He's there for several years. He has a fiance, and he just adores Spain. Unfortunately, completely by accident, he is killed in a terrorist attack, the Basque terrorist attacks. And I lived in Spain for 12 years in this northern part and had to witness a lot of the Basque terrorism firsthand. So I based the book on my experiences there when I lived there for 12 years. So Harvey's brother, best friend in the whole world, is now dead, and he is in this submersed in this grief that he's trying to process, and he really can't get over it. And part of it is the fact that his brother died in another country so far away that he has never been to. So he decides that as part of his grieving process, he's going to go to Spain and live there for a year or two and try to find out what it was that his brother loved so much about Spain. So he works as an educator. He is a upper school dean, but he decides that he's going to apply for a job, and there is a small American school, which is good because he doesn't speak much Spanish. He had Spanish in high school, but doesn't really know much. But at the American school, everybody speaks English. So he goes to this school, and they contract him as the headmaster for 1 year. They're really looking for somebody with a lot more experience, but it's late in the school year, and he's cheap because he doesn't have much experience. So they hire him, and they tell him right up front, you're here for 1 year and that's it, and then we're going to get somebody with experience. We're trying to make a lot of changes to the curriculum. We want to grow the school, and we're having trouble working with the teachers, so we'd like you to work on this program. So sure, great, gives us his ticket there, he can do this. So between his grief and his general optimistic and a bit naive look on life, and his inexperience with Spain and Spanish, and his culture shock, all those things combined, it takes him a while to figure out how badly the teachers are sabotaging him and going against him. They don't want to make any of the changes that he wants them to make. And they don't ever say that to his face. They do it very subtly by showing up drunk at the open house, by doing bad things with students, by having affairs within each other and then hiding that, by calling him bad names. And the name that they give him is Cinco. Now, an American international school is a really neat place to work. I worked at one for 4 years in northern Spain, and I based a lot of my experiences on experiences there and experiences teaching here in the United States as well. But when you're in an American school, you have people from all over the world. So you certainly have a lot of American expats, but you have the Spanish people or whatever country that you're set in, and then you have a lot of people from other parts of the world who are also traveling. And so you would have British, you would have French, you'd have people from Asia, you have just, it's a really neat, eclectic mixture of people. And people that work in these, especially when they're first joining a community like that, tend to bond with one another a lot. So the chapter I'm going to read to you is a chapter where two girls, two women who are young teachers, they're both in their early 20s, Pamela and Melissa, are new teachers to the school. They've been there for 1 year. They've bonded over looking for pumpkins at Thanksgiving, which is something you don't do. You know, they don't have orange pumpkins in Spain. They do, but you feed them to the pigs. You don't make pumpkin pie from them. And so they've bonded over all these mixed experiences, and they probably wouldn't have been friends in the United States because they have very different ideas of what it is to be a teacher. But here in Spain, they are good friends. Now, Pamela, we've seen in the prior novel, Pamela is very much aligned with the rebels, the ones that hate Harvey and are making his life miserable. They're kind of like the pirates, right? They're taking over. They're called the brujas, which is witches, right? And Melissa, the other friend, is more of a do-gooder. She likes Harvey, she respects him, she wants to put her nose down and be just really the best teacher she can possibly be. And like I said, they probably wouldn't have been friends except that they're in this unusual circumstance. So Pamela is coming to see Melissa at the end of the school day. She walks in and she says, "So, what? Have you become Spanishified now, woman? I can always find you eating your lunch at like 3 o'clock when school ends. What is it with you?" Pamela asks her friend as she enters the classroom. Melissa covered her mouth with a napkin as she answered, "Oh, I was tutoring Miquel Izeta over my lunch break. Remember I told you about him? He's the one that I can't seem to get through to, and I guess I forgot to finish eating." She immediately took another greedy bite. "Him again? Are you tutoring him every day now?" Pamela could not understand why Melissa insisted on being a super teacher, reaching out to each and every student who needed help. It was beyond the call of duty, as far as she was concerned. She would never have a personal life if she did something like that. "Yeah, I really don't know what to do with him. He's smart enough, but one minute he knows the material, and the next minute it's gone again. Sometimes he can concentrate on reading, and other times it's like he reads it and he gets nothing. And he almost never finishes his homework. I mean, it's not like I assign a lot in 5th grade, but he's just really inconsistent. He's a good kid, but I wish I could help him better, you know?" Melissa sighed in exasperation, and then she took another bite of her sandwich. Said Pamela as she thought about her friend's quandary. She had heard of students struggling before, and she'd even seen some of them doing it when she student taught in the U.S. "Do you think he's got like attention deficit disorder or something?" Melissa shook her head. "I'm no expert, of course, but I don't think he has ADD. I just don't know, Pam. I really don't know what it is with him." Pamela thought for another moment, furrowing her blonde eyebrows and toying absently with her long hair. Melissa looked flustered, and Pamela really wanted to help her, but she didn't know the answer. "Well, maybe you should ask for help. I don't know. Maybe one of the teachers who's been here longer, or maybe Cinco. He might be able to give you some ideas. You know how he always goes on about being able to help us and everything," she said, rolling her eyes. "I wish you wouldn't call him that. Oh, Missy, you're always so uptight. Lighten up. It's just a joke anyway," Pamela said playfully. "Well, I don't think it's a very nice one, calling somebody 5. 5 what, anyway? I'm sure it's meant to be mean if Linda and Maribel call him that." "Shh," said Pamela. That was the thing about Melissa. She didn't have appropriate filters when she spoke like that. Pamela was pretty sure that there was no one around who could have overheard Melissa's unfortunate comment. She had met no one on her way to the classroom, but just in case, she made a show of stepping back outside into the empty hallway and looking up and down. Then she came back inside the classroom and closed the door, lowering her voice as she spoke. "Missy, how many times do I have to tell you? You need to be careful before you say any bad things about them." Melissa shrugged her shoulders and wadded up the empty sandwich bag and napkin. Anyway, Pamela continued, it doesn't mean 5. It's short for Cinco Hornets. You know, like he's got no balls, never stands up to anyone. Huh? Do I have to spell it out for you? Look, said Pamela, rolling her eyes again in mock disgust, and going to the whiteboard. She was actually excited to be the one doing the explaining instead of the one who needed explanations, as so often happened when she was at lunch with the other teachers who spoke Spanish at breakneck speeds. Pamela wrote the word Harvey Jones in large, neat letters across the board, and then she crossed out the first name and she wrote Cinco Jones. And here she stepped back and motioned for Melissa, who gave her a questioning look. And then, with a small flourish, Pamela crossed out the first part of the word and regrouped the 2 words to form Cinco Hornets. She raised her eyebrow emphatically at Melissa, the way she did when she was talking to her students and explaining material which really should have been obvious to everyone. After this, she carefully erased the board, making sure not to leave traces of what she had just written. Although she was not particularly fond of Harvey, she knew that he often stayed after school, and she would have been mortified to have him walk in on her compromising explanation. Melissa shook her head. Well, okay, I get it now, but it's even meaner than I thought. Boy, you are the grumpy one today, aren't you? Okay, let's talk about something else, said Pamela, and she racked her brain to come up with something that might cheer Melissa. After a few seconds, her thoughts went to the subject which always entertained her a lot, men. Surely Melissa would respond well to that. How about that Tommy Charles? Is he a looker or what? The new math teacher? Sure, he's pretty cute. Yeah, he is. And he's going to have more than one chick swooning over him pretty soon, is my guess. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets a girlfriend, you know. But he's married, isn't he? Well, yeah, for now. But I don't think that's going to last very long. Pamela felt quite self-satisfied that she had the inside story on the cute guy. She winked at Melissa in a knowing way. Pamela, what are you saying? You're not going after him, are you? I thought you had a crush on the chemistry teacher. Oh, I do, Raphael. He's such a hottie. I'm just saying that I don't think Tommy's going to stay married much longer. Apparently, his wife is really unhappy, though I don't think she's saying she wants a divorce yet, but Maribel said that she won't be surprised if there's something said about it soon, because Maribel? How could Maribel possibly know that? Well, they go running together, her and Tommy's wife. I think they were friends in high school or something. Most people know each other here, you know. It's not really that big of a city, said Pamela smugly. She was repeating information as if it was obvious when she herself had been extremely surprised to learn about it just a few days earlier. So you see, I told you, you should hang out at the cool teacher's table at lunch. You could find out all kinds of things for yourself, said Pamela triumphantly. She noticed that Melissa was paying attention now and seemed to have forgotten about her problem student. That was good. Anyway, apparently, Wenaroa, that's what Tommy's wife's name is. Isn't it strange? Maribel says it's a Basque name. I've never heard it before, but anyway, when Naroa found out that Maribel worked here at the GAS, they started all talking and walking together, and now they go out to the park every morning. Maribel is like this big fitness buff. You know, you've seen her so thin and toned, and she says that Naroa is really glad to be back in Spain because she hated living in the United States, which I find kind of hard to believe personally, but she was in Ohio, so maybe that explains it. I've never been to Ohio, have you? Melissa shook her head. Well, anyway, now, she's glad to be back in Spain, but she doesn't dig Tommy anymore. That's also hard to believe because he's such a hunk, but different strokes for different folks, I guess. So, who knows? You might get lucky. Pamela, I am not looking to get lucky, at least not in that way, and certainly not with Plum. Plus, he's like 10 years older than me, and he's got kids, doesn't he? Not my cup of tea. You know, if I get lucky, they'll extend my contract and let me stay in Spain a few more years. That's how I want to get lucky. Oh, yeah, that's right. How's that going? Asked Pamela. She had meant to ask Melissa earlier, but she'd completely forgotten. Melissa sighed, and Pamela noticed that she looked really tired. She walked over to Melissa and sat down next to her. She really did think Melissa was working too hard. I've I've just started the process. I had to submit a bunch of paperwork, reports and things, and get Sonia to write me a recommendation letter, which she did. My advisor said if this school is willing to pay my salary, I could get a 2-year extension as long as the reports all came in positive. And I think that this school won't have a problem having me stay on since they really need a 5th grade teacher. Yeah, that's right, and you're a good one. But how come they want the reports from Sonia? Why not from Harvey? I don't know. They said they preferred the academic director. I'm just doing what they said. Don't worry, Missy. I'm sure you'll get an extension. You work so hard helping all your students, said Pamela soothingly.
Anyone here from Ohio?
Me. That's why I can pick on it.